Hey guys, thanks for checking out my channel. My name is Peggy and I'm growing a cut flower garden here on my allotment in Kanagawa Prefecture, Japan, which is just south of Tokyo in USDA Zone 9B. Okay, it's lovely and sunny and warm today, but don't be fooled. We have had 2 weeks of almost constant rain and last night was blowing an absolute hoolie. You can see looking around some other people who have much better sweet pea than me. Their sweet pea are looking a bit wind battered. But it's nice and sunny now and I am going to take advantage of the weather and try and get some more stuff seeded in my garden. Now, I do have quite a lot going on right now and we have flowers. You see these flowers? So having left these poppy in because I planted them last year and it was too late and they didn't do anything, but they kept their green on, so I just left them in the ground and they've been getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and you can see they got battered by the wind a bit yesterday as well, but they are putting out flowers. Now I planted quite a few varieties of poppy last year and none of them did anything. And these I think are the jelly bean variety that I planted. And if you look at the flowers here, this is the flower just about to start to bloom and it's got such a funny little pointy flower head to it, which then turns into this. Now this was supposed to be a mix, but it seems that they're all coming up the same colour, this kind of pink and yellow colour. But yay, I'm going to cut these. Now if anyone has grown poppy before, you'll know that when you cut them, if you condition them properly and you really look after them, after blooming they will last about 10 seconds before they fall apart. So I'm going to wait to just before I'm about to leave the allotment before I start cutting these. But yay, first flowers. My main goal for today though is to get my zinnia in the ground. It's getting nice and warm now and I want to get these in the ground. I have quite a few different varieties. I have these Queen Lime series, the kind of orange and yellow ones. I have the Gianto Mix, a giant mix, which are very pretty. I have Art Deco, Art Deco series. I have Zinnia mix. I have the cactus variety. Sorry, I'm trying to read it in Japanese and translate. The cactus flower pink mix, which are a really kind of cool ruffly one, so a different petal shape. And then I just have some white. Now I did grow zinnia here last year and I am planting these having learned a few things about what I did wrong last year. First, I didn't get them in quickly enough. Secondly, I started them at home. Now I see that lots of people that I follow on YouTube and on Instagram are starting them indoors as well, but they're in much colder climates, so obviously they're starting them so that they can get them out as soon as the heat kicks in. But I don't really have to worry about that being here in Zone 9B. And I have read that zinnia don't really like transplanting, so it is better to try and direct sow them if your climate allows it. So I'm going to do that. Secondly, I put them too close together. I think I tried to put 4 in a row and that was too much, so this year I'm going to go with 3 in a row. I didn't plant as many varieties as I wanted, but you know, I was starting last year, so I've got a lot more varieties to try this year. The ones I did try though were peaches and cream zinnia, and I didn't like them at all. In fact, I did a whole video about what went wrong with my zinnia. If you look back on my channel page, you'll see that there is a video about why are my zinnia not doing anything, because they were coming up all as singles and no doubles at all. They were small, they were weak, they were scrawny, they weren't very good at all. But I did have some lime ones that didn't start the season great, but they were my go-to last year. I had them all the time. They lasted so long. They got bigger as they went along. Not as big as they could have got, which I found out when I went to the consulate garden in Yokohama and found massive ones of the same variety. I was like, oh, that's what mine are meant to look like, but they don't. But I did really like those lime ones, so I'm kind of hoping, I was tempted to plant them again, but I thought, no, I'm going to try a few different varieties. So they are going to go in here. In this row, I have my cornflower that I started at home and are looking really good. I've got my cosmos that I seeded a few weeks ago and that has started to come up. I just had to play a game of weed or cosmos, which was fun, but I think I've figured out what the cosmos seed's supposed to look like and they are all coming through nicely. And then this whole extra line, the rest of this row was supposed to be my zinnia. But as you can see, I have some things left over from last year that didn't do much for me last year, but are starting to do a lot now, which I'm going to leave, starting with this bunny tail, which is super cute. And it's starting to put out its fluffy little tails now. Everything's so wet because it's been raining for days. So I've got this bunny tail, and then I've got 3 mystery plants. Now, based on what I wanted to have in here that didn't do anything last year, I think it might be echinacea, scabious, and an eryngium. I think that's how you say it. I think that's what these are, and I'm going to have one of each, but I'll find out when it puts flowers on. But I'm going to leave them, mainly because they're perennials, and I don't have any perennial in the garden yet because I wasn't sure if I was getting my allotment back. But this year I am going to try and make this end row my perennial row. So I might leave these in, see what they become, and then at the end of season I might try and transplant them over into the other side of the garden. Or I might just leave them where they are and work around them. But for today, I'm going to have to work around them. So what I've done is marked out where I'm going to have each row. And then when I start to hit these, I'm basically cutting down the amount of the zinnia that I'm putting in. I'm sacrificing some space. And it's going to be these white ones that I sacrifice. So instead of having 6 of these white ones, I'll probably only have 3. But I want the, I like the big colourful ones. So I will only put in 3 of these instead of 6, and then I'll just kind of plant them around and hope that they don't end up competing, which is what happened last year to these ones. I planted them, I think I had my verbena in here, and my gomphrena was in here as well. And it very, very quickly took over and completely shaded these out. So that's why they didn't do very well. Now, obviously, they've got a jump start this season, but I'm hoping that the same thing's not going to happen again because my zinnia will get tall. But that's the plan, is to go ahead and put these in. So I'm going to mark out where I want them and then start seeding. I must remember to make tags. I'm terrible at tagging things. This cane here marks where I finished planting my cosmos last time, so I know where I can start planting my zinnia. So I think I'm going to go ahead and put in the queen line first. Breathe in the senorita cactus ones. No, I'll put burnout. Put the giant mix. 2. Okay, that looks good. Let's get them in the ground. I'm not going to grow them in, seed them in lines because that's a waste of seed. So I'm just going to dig out 3 little holes and sprinkle in a few seeds. I usually put in 3 seeds, 1 for the ground, 1 for the grow, 1 to grow. That might throw in an extra couple for luck. One of my big problems last year was that I overcrowded my garden. I wanted to grow as much as I could until I ended up overcrowding it. And looking at how close together this would be if I put in 3, I think that's too close. So I'm going to switch up my plan and only put in 2 because I want nice strong plants this year. I don't want them to be competing with each other. So I think I'm going to change it and just put in 2 per row, so I'll have 4 plants each. I might come to regret that. That's what I think I'm going to do. Zinnia seed is nice and big and easy to work with. It's not silly little poppy seed type stuff. And that is this year's Zinnia on the ground. Yes. Okay, the other thing I learned last year is that I needed to put on more netting. So the same with my Cosmos, I'd only put on 2 layers of netting, support netting last year. And this year I've decided to put on 3, and I'm going to put it on straight away because I wasn't quite sure when I should be putting it on. But I've decided this year just to put it on straight away, the first level, and then once the plants come up through that, I'll put the second level on. So I've still got the stuff that I had for my Cosmos here. I just left the ends rolled up, and I'm just going to let that come across the whole row, and so they'll have lots of support when they come up, so that if we get any weather like we had yesterday with the really strong winds, they'll be fine when they're small. And then the 3 layers of netting is because we have typhoon season here. So maybe where you are, it doesn't get that windy. I mean, I'm from Scotland, it's pretty damn windy. But we have to deal with typhoon season here, so I want to give these plants the best chance they have to withstand that. So let's get some netting on. I don't use anything special for my netting. This is just the stuff that you can buy to grow your tomatoes and cucumbers up. This is the second year I've used it, and it's still perfectly okay. And I put it on with twisty ties, which I also reuse. I want this first layer to be really nice and tight. I don't actually think I need to tie that one on. It's going to stay there just for tension. Okay, so that is my Zinnia all done, but that is not the only thing I want to get in the garden today. I've got a few other things that I'm going to seed. My God, it's hot. Okay, so you can see when I put my sweet pea in here, I only used half a row to do that. So I've still got this front half row, which I've already planted up with some things. I've got my hibiscus flower in here. I've got some other stuff I planted. And I am about to add some of this, which I've never grown before, and this was one of the substitutes I had to get. If you watch one of my other videos, you'll know that a lot of the seeds that I had ordered from abroad were not allowed to come into Japan and were destroyed. So I very quickly had to change up what I was growing in my garden with stuff that I could find here. So there's quite a few things I'm growing that I've never grown before. But this is a bulb, so I'm going to get this in, and if I like it, then yay, I'll come back next year as well. I'm also trying to put in a few more of my kind of foliage types. So I've got these pink poker things. And I also have, lying over here, some Chinese lanterns. Now these aren't actually going to go here. These I want to grow where my sweet pea are growing when my sweet pea are done. But I'm going to get them in the ground now and get them growing and started, because I don't think my sweet pea are going to last very long. They've taken a really long time to get going. Everyone else's are absolutely massive. I did actually talk to my allotment neighbour yesterday, who has beautiful sweet pea growing really tall, and she told me that she direct seeded those last autumn. Now, I had started growing some in pots in the autumn, like kind of end of autumn, early winter. I'd started growing some in pots at home, and they did really well, and then when I transplanted them into here, they died off straight away. They didn't like it at all. But she said that that's what she did and what most other people have done, and that seems to have worked really well. So I think going forward, that's what I'll do. I'll miss out the faff of growing them at home and just put them straight in the ground here for next year. But for now, I'm going to put these in the ground so that they can get started as well. And then when my sweet pea are done, these will come up and give me, hopefully, a full season of flowers. Okay, so I need to check my garden plan and figure out where I'm putting all this stuff. So these are going here, and I only need 5 of them. Where are you? Chinese lanterns. Purple 6, we're going up there. I think spiker 4 here. Okay. Let's go. General rule with bulbs is to plant them twice as deep as the bulb is big. So these are teeny tiny bulbs, so I only need teeny tiny holes. These are the shiniest seeds I have ever seen. And that is me all done for today. And that's our first full row done. We've got our cornflower, our cosmos, our zinnia, and then our extras. Bunnytail, scabious, echinacea, ergoneum, I think. And this row is almost finished as well. You can see my snapdragon are doing really well, but that Docus data is getting absolutely massive, and I think it's going to shade out the snapdragon that are around it unless they put on some height really, really quickly. But this is my snapdragon, my Docus data, my sweet peas, and then I'm starting to fill in for when my sweet peas are finished. I will have the pink pokers, the Chinese lanterns, some amaranth, and I've got something else going in there that I can't remember. And then some other little bits and bobs, which are my emergency ones. So let's wait and see how they do and see how I feel about growing them again next year. But if you want to stick around and see if these grow, what happens, and what I do with them once I have picked them, then remember to hit the subscribe button below. I am going to go ahead now and pick these poppy, and I've actually got a couple of calendula there that look really small, but I'm hoping if I cut them now then they'll put out bigger stems. So if you want to see what I do with all the flowers that I cut here, you can check out my Instagram page, which is From the Witch's Garden. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.